All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sovereign State. As usual, I'm your host, Brandis P. Bonos. Got a big episode coming up for you guys today. I hope you guys are excited. Today, we're going to be reacting to this very interesting, very important reaction to Stephen Miller's speech. For those of you who are not familiar, Stephen Miller works in the Trump administration. He oversees operations with the Department of Homeland Security, and he also is the deputy chief at the White House, or he's the deputy White House chief of staff, if I remember correctly. Anyways, he's a very important figure in the Trump administration. Um, and he's a white nationalist, obviously. He has had reports leaked about him in the past referring to his tendency to promote VDARE, American Renaissance, white nationalist publications to his colleagues. And so today we're going to be reacting to this former white supremacist. Her name is Jenny. For those of you who don't know who this is, I highly suggest everybody please go follow her. Her channel name is Life Take Two. And before we even get into the video, the first thing I want to just say real quickly is this. You know, it's important to do these kinds of videos for a couple reasons. The first one being, we need to be able to deconstruct these people's thoughts. We need to be able to deconstruct their opinions. We need to be able to challenge their narratives. And the reason why is very simple. Because if they control history, they control the way we think. And if they control the way we think, they control the way we vote. They control society. So it's very important to be able to push back on every single inaccuracy, every single lie, pull at every single potential thread to completely crush their narrative. And the reason why I say crush, to make myself very clear, it's because these American Christian extremists, these white nationalists, these white supremacists, they view us in antagonistical ways, which is to say, they view America as a battle for Western civilization. What does that mean? That means they're fighting for white people. They're fighting for Christianity. They're fighting for patriarchy, traditional values, and so on and so forth. And anybody who has a different worldview, anybody who has different values, anybody who is a different race, a different religion, is an obstacle or an enemy. And understanding this frame is very important. This is how they frame it. Everything is in the framing because there's two ways to do politics. You can do constructive politics where you extend olive branches to other people, where you work with other people, where you are constructive, where you have a unified vision with different people, a coalition to achieve a common goal, a better society. Well, with these white nationalists and these American Christian extremists, the only way for them to achieve their objectives is to remove all impediments, to push everybody else out of the way, and to assert power and to thwart democracy. And the reason why is because under a liberal democracy, freedom of religion is tolerated, freedom of religion is protected. You must understand, if Christian nationalists take power, that will no longer be the case. John Bennett, who is a representative in Oklahoma, has already said, he's a Republican, has already said if it was up to him, he would destroy every mosque in his town and in Oklahoma. This is a member of the House of Representatives, a Christian white man. So it's important to understand they view you in these antagonistic terms through an antagonistic lens, which is to say you must defend yourself in that process. And before we begin reacting to this video, it also is important to understand to all the people out there who come to my videos, who comment down below, I want to just say very briefly, um, you guys can go fuck yourselves. And the reason why I say that is very simple. At the end of the day, I'm going to do what's in my interest. I'm going to double down, triple down, quadruple down, quintuple down if necessary, because we are not allies. You don't view me that way. And it's important for that to be understood, and it's important for that to be aired out at the beginning of this video because this is foundational. We have diametrically opposed goals, diametrically opposed worldviews. I must say, Nick Fuentes and all his fans, especially the Hispanic and Black fans of Nick Fuentes, Very perplexing group of people, very unintelligent, very unimpressive, very slow, very witless group of people. And the reason why I say that is because people like Nick Fuentes and white Christian conservatives in the United States for several centuries have fought against what was in the interest of Hispanic, Black, and Asian people, which is to say, they did not want us to vote. They did not want us to be able to hold public office. They did not want us to go to the same schools or even drink from the same water fountains. They thought we were low IQ. They thought we were lesser. They thought we were inferior. They thought we were less attractive. Nicholas J. Fuentes has himself said that he believes white people are the most objectively attractive race, which is to say, everybody else is less attractive. Moreover, he has suggested, or not suggested, but has said that if the United States was not run by Jews, if women would shut the fuck up, and if half of black people were in jail, we would be living in a paradise. That is what he has said. He has said that before, word for word. So it's important to understand they don't like us. And Nick Fuentes spends much of his time pushing the white genocide theory, conspiracy theory, and the Great Replacement conspiracy theory. And he believes in both of those things. He believes that white people are being replaced by brown and black people from the third world, and he believes that white people are being genocided. Now, what does that mean? That means that the United States and the white population here must be preserved. It must be fought for at all causes. It must be maintained at all causes by any means necessary, because if not, they fear that there will be retributive action taken against the white population. It's obviously insane. It's obviously presumptuous. They believe that we will do what they did to us, but we want peace. That's what they don't understand. But that's besides the point. So they're afraid that if their majority population numbers decline to a certain point, they will lose all power, all influence, and they'll potentially be on the receiving end of violent action. Insane belief, but you must understand the only people that Nicholas J. Fuentes cares about, the only people that Stephen Miller cares about, the only people that white supremacists and white nationalists care about, he is a white nationalist, he has said as much, are other white people. They don't care about anybody else, and let me tell you why. Do this thought experiment. If you're a black or brown or Asian groyper, ask yourself this question. If the amount of black and brown and Hispanic people in the United States started to decline, do you think they would bat an eye? Do you think they would freak out? Do you think they would support us? Do you think they would try to step in politically? The answer to that question is self evident. It's obviously no, which is to say, they would see it as a positive development. Us dying out, us declining in the United States relative to the white population, they would see that as a positive development. Us dying out, us not repopulating, reproducing, is a positive development for the white supremacist, for the white nationalist. So if that's the case, why would we support their movement? If that's the case, why should we support them? If they see me dying out, my people dying out as a positive development, then why should I support them? And the answer to that question is we should not. It's not in our interest. You have to be prudent. You have to be rational. You have to be cutthroat. You have to be ruthless. Do what is in your interest. Supporting the white nationalists, supporting the white supremacists is not in your interest. They have spread pseudoscientific lies. They have lynched us. They have prevented us from getting equal rights. And to this day, they still spread lies and misinformation about us. They denigrate our appearance, our culture, and so on and so forth. The less people like that, who think like that in society, the better. The less Nick Fuentes, the less Richard Spencer's, the less Thomas Rousseau's, the less there are of those people, the more peaceful our society becomes. And I want a peaceful society. So the way I look at it is the white population declining, it's a white people problem. Let them deal with it. The Asian, the black, the Hispanic people, we ain't got nothing to do with it. And quite frankly, there's nothing we can do about it. Because if we were to have a child with a white person, they would call that child a mongrel. They would say that child is a mixed breed. They would say that child is degenerate, that the relationship is degenerate because they don't believe in miscegenation. So fundamentally, they are doing this to themselves, actually. This is a self created problem, and they have to live with it. They have to deal with it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we just stand by idly because they're projecting that problem onto us. They're projecting the problem of their population declining relative to us. They're projecting that onto us. They're saying, we're the problem. We must suffer the consequences for that. We must be made to punish. We must be suppressed. And we can't let that happen. You got to stand firm, got to stand our ground, and be aware, be awoken, think critically, pay attention to what's being said. That's all I'm saying. And I want to make this very clear. Last thing I'll say before we start this video, this was an important preamble. The last thing I'll say before we continue is that I do not want, the white population to decline in the United States. I don't care. I just want people like Nick Fuentes to stop speaking. I want people like Nick Fuentes to stop expressing their opinions publicly because it is a net negative to society. Stable societies do not allow people like Nick Fuentes to have a platform. In Japan, in South Korea, in Singapore, a person like Nick Fuentes would not be able to speak publicly because it causes discord, it causes hate in society, it causes divisiveness. So I don't care about the population numbers. I like white people. And there are many of them who are in our movement, and we support them, like this lady here, Jenny. Love Jenny. She's great. It's the people like Nick Fuentes. It's the people like Richard Spencer. It's the people like Thomas Rousseau who we must be very critical of, who we must be very aware of. They don't want us here. They think we're a problem. They see us as inferior. They see our culture as degenerate. They see our genes as inferior. So why should we support them? Why should we stand next to them, in union with them? There's nothing there for me at all. Do what's in your interest. Think critically. With that being said, we're going to get into the video. I just wanted to make that very clear. And throughout the video, I am going to be pausing quite a bit. My apologies. But the reason why I'm going to be pausing quite a bit is because this is going to be a learning session for everybody watching. This is going to be a learning session. We're going to be able to pick apart at the lies that Stephen Miller tells. And we also have this wonderful, amazing lady here to walk us through the thought process. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning,
I'm
Jenny.
Jenny Gage, and this is Life Take Two.
It's good evening where I
I've
am.
been sitting at my desk writing out a script as a response to the Stephen Miller part of Charlie Kirk's memorial, and I have been bawling my eyes out. And here's what I was thinking. I would rather pause right now, throw away the entire script, and give you just my raw response than sit here and make something sound perfect. I haven't even had a shower yet. I went for my jog this morning with Kevin, and we're just going to do this. If you're new to me, I am a former white supremacist, Christian nationalist,
Mm,
big time MAGA follower, Trump supporter.
wow.
I left the Mormon church, my all right religious community.
Okay, so she was a MAGA supporter, Christian nationalist, white supremacist. She was a Mormon. That's a lot of brainwashing. That's a lot of propaganda. It's important to understand that white Christian nationalists, white Mormons, white MAGA supporters, these people do not live in the same reality as us. As a matter of fact, they don't live in reality at all. These people live in a delusional alternate reality, and we must treat them as such. They are not normal people. They are sycophantic. They are obsessive. They are loyal to a fault. They cannot think for themselves. They are sheep, effectively. And so, with that understanding, you must treat these people like what they are. Treat them accordingly. Imagine being a Christian nationalist, a white supremacist, a MAGA supporter, and a Mormon. Completely incoherent set of beliefs. It makes absolutely no sense. The amount of brainwashing and dogma and religious zealotry is unparalleled. Keep understand, folks, religious fundamentalists are not normal people. They don't think for themselves. They are completely and utterly blinded by religious zealotry and a desire for power and control and dominance that they are a threat to everybody in society. That goes for half of the MAGA movement because half of them are Christian nationalists. Beware of these people, folks. and treat them accordingly. These people are not normal, rational, sane people. They are crazy people. Let's get that very clear.
and gradually deconstructed all of that just recently. I just left MAGA 2 years ago.
Jesus.
I
Took her 4 years to deconstruct all of that. 4 years to deconstruct all of that brainwashing. It gets deep, y'all. It gets deep.
left the Mormon church 7 years ago, left Christianity about the same time that I left MAGA. And
Jesus. Left
I've
the whole
saved this
thing.
video. I've saved watching this portion of the Charlie Kirk Memorial, which was here in my hometown. I am an Arizona girl. I grew up in Scottsdale, part of my life, not too far away from the Francis family, although Eric is much younger than me, so we never crossed paths. I haven't watched this video. I've watched other portions of the funeral, and the first time I watched it was just half an hour ago when I began to script about it. So let's dive into this. I hope not just to give you a response, but to translate what he's saying, because I think there's so much that only a former white supremacist can see.
The angels wept, but those tears have been turned into fire in our hearts. And
Already
that
with the
fire
Christian
burns
imagery.
with a righteous fury that our enemies cannot comprehend or understand.
So, right there is a former cult member and somebody who was part of the alt right and hardcore Christian nationalist. Every cult has an in group and an out group. You have to have a
Right.
leader, you have to have a purpose, you have to have the pure genetic pool or the pure membership. Purity is everything. And from the very get go here, he's talking about angels. So he's sanctifying everything that he's going to say here.
Yep.
We speak for God, the angels.
And that's the thing. That's what's particularly evil and demonic about these people. They cloak their white supremacy in Christianity. They cloak their white supremacy in imagery of angels and imagery of purity. It's very evil, these people, very sick, these people. We must always oppose these people. And understand me clearly, this is exactly what Mr. Nicholas J. Fuentes does, this disgusting, vile rat of a human being. Nicholas J. Fuentes will say something like, I believe that all people, black, brown, Asian, are equal under God. He does not value a white person's life over a black person's life. He believes a white person's life is of equal value to a black person. However, this is a distinction without a difference if you pay close attention. And the reason why I say that is very simple. It's because he believes that outside of the individual gravity of each person's life, that the white race is still superior culturally, intellectually, physically. He believes the white race is the chosen, the superior race, a special race. So he doesn't actually believe that all people were made in God's image or that all people are equal under God. He believes that white people are particularly special people in comparison to everybody else. And as a byproduct, it gives them a right to dominate and control society. Very dark, the things these people do. They talk out of both sides of their mouth. To say that a black person and a white person's life are of equal value, only to use that to then say afterwards that despite that belief, I do think the white race is superior. Very evil, these people. Very twisted psychologically, very dark, very sinister, very Machiavellian, very deceptive, these people. Understand their tactics. Understand all of their tactics. You must know the white supremacist game because this man wants to harm you. This man wants to displace you. This man does not care about you. And as a matter of fact, he has enmity towards you and he wants to produce enmity towards you. Understand that clearly.
Behind us and our enemies, that's the out group.
Mm hmm.
This is terrifying in the first 8 seconds here.
Yes,
When
ma'am.
I see Erica and her strength and her courage, I'm reminded of a famous expression.
Look at, by the way, sorry to pause, but look at Mr. Miller's face here. Look at this slimy, greasy, lizard, rattlesnake human being. Look at his face. Look at his head. Look at his eyes. This is the eyes. If you're spiritually tapped in, these are the eyes of a man with no soul. These are the eyes of a man who believes in hate, who believes in domination, who believes in violence, state sanctioned violence. This man is not a normal person. This is an ideologically motivated, zealot, a white supremacist. And I just want to point this out before we resume the video. The interesting that the white supremacists will do is they will try to create a false distinction between a white Jew and a white European. Now, both of these people are white Europeans, but one of them might have some Jewish ancestry, where the other one is strictly German, Irish, Anglo Saxon, and so on and so forth. Now, the reason why this is a particularly sinister and evil trick that the white supremacists will play is because if you actually pay attention to the way the white Ashkenazi Jew treats the Sephardic or Mizrahi or African Jew, you will notice very quickly that he treats them, despite them all being Jews, the same way the white supremacist views and treats black and brown people in America. So, despite the fact that all of them are Jews, the Ashkenazi Jew, which is to say the European Jew, believes him to be the superior Jew, the chosen Jew, the ultimate Jew. And all these other Jews must be subservient to the Ashkenazi. And this comes from a kind of European supremacy complex, a white supremacist complex. So, not be fooled by this false distinction between a white Jew and a white person or a white non Jew. They both come with white supremacy. One just has a yarmulke on. That's the only difference. So be very aware of the tricks and the word games that the white supremacists play. They're a very slick, evil, dishonest creature.
The storm whispers to the warrior
Look at this man. No
that you
soul.
cannot withstand my strength. And the warrior whispers back, I am the storm.
The storm whispers to the warrior, you cannot withstand my strength. And the warrior whispers back, I am the storm. Why is he invoking warrior? Why is he invoking storm? It's for the purposes of intimidation. At the beginning of the speech, he brought up things like fury, that we were awoken. His people were awoken by the storm. The warriors woke up. What he's doing here is subtly framing political events, political action, politics holistically as not a matter of strategy or technicality or deliberation between different coalitions or different groups, but rather it is an antagonistic relationship between those who want to do good and those who want to do evil, and that the good needs to crush and destroy the evil. And of course, Mr. Miller, he believes he is the good person. He believes he is on the side of the good people and that he is going to use through God's will that power, that position to destroy the people who are evil. Very sadistic and Machiavellian the way they frame politics. Very sadistic.
I used to love that quote, and I actually had that on my Facebook profile for a long time. And I had this feeling of, I am the storm. And there's a little word in there that a lot of people might have missed, and it's just the word warrior. As a white supremacist, I literally believed that I was this
Mmm.
warrior.
Yep.
I was the
Right
warrior for
there.
civilization. I was a warrior
Yep.
for God. I was a warrior for truth.
Yep.
I was the warrior.
That's it. They believe they are a warrior and you are the enemy. They believe they are the 300 and you are the Persian. That's how the white supremacist believes. They believe they're like Mr. Fuentes himself, who is a fake white person. He is a mixed race mongrel. But that aside, Mr. Fuentes believes that he's defending Western civilization. He believes he's defending Christianity. He believes he's defending traditional values. He believes he's defending the white race. And the only way to protect those things is to destroy the enemy, to dominate the enemy. Who's the enemy? Well, that's a very important and operative question. Well, the enemy is the left. The enemy is liberalism. The enemy is democracy. The enemy is pluralism. The enemy is black and brown and Hispanic people and Asian people. Those are the enemies and the people who stand against Christianity, the Muslims, the Jews, the atheists. We are the enemies in his framework. Understand that. This is not about politics, rather, this is about survival to them. And the only way they survive is by destroying us, by dominating us, by boxing us out. It is an inherently violent and antagonistic way of thinking about politics. There's no way of splicing that. Understand that clearly.
You're battling for traditional family and everything that civilization was based on.
The
So
warrior
that little word
Nicholas
there is
J.
not
Fuentes, who doesn't
insignificant.
have any
Erica is the
children.
storm.
Sorry, let's rewind that. I
That I was
spoke
the
over her.
warrior for truth. I was the warrior battling for traditional family and everything that civilization was based on.
Mm-hmm.
So that little word there is not insignificant.
Yep. Dog
Erica is
whistle.
the storm. We are the storm. And our enemies cannot comprehend.
We are the storm. Storm is a metaphor for strength, violence, intimidation, fear, power, chaos. That is what a storm represents. He's saying he is the storm. The whites, the Christians, the people protecting traditional values and Western civilization. That's the storm. Understand that clearly.
Storm troopers, anybody?
And our strength, our determination, our resolve, our passion, our lineage and our legacy.
Lineage and legacy. Lineage, that's blood. That's blood and soil. Who's the blood? The whites. That's the lineage. And anybody else who is not a part of that lineage must be removed, must be displaced, must be suppressed. You must be able to see past the rhetoric.
Hails back to Athens, to
Mm.
Rome, to
Athens. You know what's actually, I just want to take a moment to talk about this. This is what's particularly funny. When the white supremacist talks about Athens or Rome, I do find that odd because the people from Rome, the people from Greece, actually viewed the Nords, the Western Europeans, as barbaric, as uncivilized, as lacking in development. So the thin blooded Mediterranean people, who by the standards of the forefathers in America would not have been white, those Roman and Greek people actually believed the Northern Europeans and the Western Europeans to be savage, to be uncivilized, to be brutes. So, whenever these white supremacists invoke Greece and invoke Rome, I do find it particularly strange because the Aryans viewed them as inferior. And in America, for several centuries, under the census, the brown, bronze, olive, coppered skinned Mediterranean people from Greece and Rome would not have been considered white. Very strange how whiteness works, how they just randomly decide to co opt any particular civilization based on how advanced they were. Very strange what these people do. They just make things up because it fits their narrative.
Philadelphia, to Monticello. Our ancestors built the cities. They produced the art and architecture. They built the industry.
They. Understand clearly, anytime somebody says they in the context of a white supremacist speech, just understand these people cannot be trusted because they can't actually say what they believe. They can't actually say what they mean. It's cowardly.
Erica stands on the shoulders of thousands of years of warriors.
Okay, there's that word warrior again. You guys, if you were never white supremacists, you do not understand how terrifying that little bit of this already was. So, white supremacy isn't necessarily about hating brown people. It's not about hating African Americans or the indigenous populations of America, First Nations in New Zealand or Australia, people in India.
So I want to just challenge this real quick. It's not necessarily about hate in the sense that they have a vitriolic anger and a desire to do violence towards those people, towards Indians, blacks, Asians, Jews, Hispanics, brown people, and so on. The white supremacist doesn't hate them necessarily with a vitriolic anger. However, they do hate them in a different way because hate comes in multiple forms. They hate what they represent. They hate the way they look. They hate their culture. They believe them to be inferior. They have a feeling of contempt and disdain directed towards these people. So it's a different kind of hate. Slightly different, but still hate.
wherever. It's not about hating them. White supremacy is the belief that white people are chosen.
Mm.
Now, a lot of this is based on biblical mythology. It's based on Adam and Eve and
There
Cain
you
and
go.
Abel, and the belief that Cain murdered his brother Abel, so he was cursed with brown skin. That was then carried throughout the flood.
Cain killed a That's insane. Let's play that one more time.
On biblical mythology, it's based on Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, and the belief that Cain murdered his brother Abel, so he was cursed with brown skin. That was then carried
Cain hated his brother Abel, so he was cursed with brown skin.
belief that Cain murdered his brother
Oh,
Abel,
Cain murdered his brother Abel,
so he was cursed with brown skin. That
so he was cursed with brown skin. So this is what's particularly interesting about this. So the Christian nationalists who overlap heavily with the white supremacist, because in America, Christianity is a white supremacist religion. It always has been, because it has its roots in Western civilization and white supremacy. It has its roots in that. They believe, based on theology, or at least their interpretation of theology, that having brown skin is a curse. So I would be a cursed individual by that logic. So these people believe, these insane, freakazoid religious zealots believe that because Cain murdered his brother Abel, he was cursed with brown skin. Thus, being white is pure, being white is correct, and being not white is impure. Being not white is cursed. So they view you as a cursed person. Very perverse, the psychology of the Christian white supremacist.
was then carried throughout the flood with Ham. Ham was supposed to have been the father of Egypt and Africa after the ark landed wherever it landed. That was what I was taught in church. A lot of my Christian friends, a lot of early colonists believed that concept, that the
Hmm.
curse of Cain was why
The curse of Cain.
people from Africa were brown skinned.
Wow.
And white supremacy to me was just, I am that pure lineage straight from Adam and Eve. I remember my granddad saying that there were only approximately 250 generations from Adam and Eve to me. That's, just averaging the, I don't know, 25 years or something per human generation span. I don't know exactly what his math figure was to get that, and accounting for we've already lived through 6,000 years of Earth history is the biblical teaching. So from Adam and Eve to me was about 250 generations. I literally believed that my pure bloodline went back to Adam and Eve.
So white Christian supremacy is effectively just another form of ethno-narcissism, excuse me, where the white Christian believes themselves to be superior as a matter of divinity. They believe themselves to be more divine than the non-white. Very interesting psychology from these people. Very similar to the Jews, as a matter of fact. The Jews who believe that they are the chosen people, which thus gives them the right to do what they're doing in Gaza currently. Very interesting, the psychology. And almost see, it's interesting because the psychology of the Zionist and the psychology of the white Christian supremacist are identical. They're born from the same source: ethno narcissism, religious narcissism, religious zealotry. That should tell you something. That is a dangerous, deadly, hateful, evil combination. To be what Nick Fuentes is, a white supremacist, a Christian supremacist, a religious zealot, all three. What does that beget? That begets hate. That begets violence. We should all be able to live in peace and harmony and love. There's no reason why we should have to submit to the authority of a group of extremist, hateful, white supremacists who cloak their ideology in Christianity. Like I said, very sick, very evil, these people.
Adam was handmade by God. God formed him out of the dust. And in the Bible, when it says that God made Adam in his image, to me as a Christian and a believer in the Bible, literally, that Adam and Eve was literal, that Heavenly Father was literal. I believed that God was white. I believed that
Mm.
Jesus was white.
There you
And so when
go.
they made man in his image, then they made a white man. In the Mormon
There
temple, I
you
would
go.
watch
They made a
videos
white man in
that
his
showed
image. The Christian nationalists, white supremacists believe that God made a white man in his image. She said it herself, straight from the horse's mouth.
God was white. I believed that Jesus was white. And so when they made man in his
God was white, Jesus was white.
image, then they made a
When they made man in his image,
white man.
they made a white man. That's the trifecta: God, Jesus, and the man. And they're all white. Thus, they have a special privilege to rule over earth, over man, God's creation. Very, very troublesome.
In the Mormon temple, I would watch videos
This is what the Christian nationalists believe.
that showed Adam and Eve in the garden, and Eve had long blonde hair just like me. She looked like Erica Kirk in a little like suede dress that looked like something a Navajo would have worn. And Adam was white as white could be, and he had a little like barbershop haircut.
Mm.
In the Mormon video of Adam and Eve, I always pictured Adam and Eve being white.
It's called predictive programming. And all of these churches, Catholic schools, and so on, they portray God and Jesus in the figure of a white European. What's particularly confusing to me about this is that this is a form of racial idolatry. To put the essence of something so holy, to put the essence of something so profound, to reduce it to a mere man because you are so obsessed, you are so preoccupied with their phenotype, with their racial appearance, their racial category, their physical appearance, to reduce God from something so holy, so profound, to a white man, goes to show they are race idolaters. They love their race as much as they love God. They believe they were chosen. The white people were chosen by God. Talk about weaponizing the Bible and weaponizing Christianity. Very sad to see.
like me. And I believed that I was literally descended from them. So this
She believes she was descended from these people. She believes she was descended from, let her say that one more time,
like barbershop haircut in the
from Adam and Eve.
Mormon video of Adam. Adam was white as white could be, and he had a little like barbershop haircut in the Mormon video of Adam and Eve. I always pictured Adam and Eve being white, just
Mm,
like me. And I believed that I was literally descended from them. So this is the core of white supremacy, the belief that God made Adam and Eve perfect. And then the belief that all good things in the world came through white Aryan lineage.
there you go.
This is
So they believe that Adam and Eve created the white race. And Adam and Eve were effectively, essentially holy, divine. And what's interesting about that is that, I mean, if you actually know the story of Adam and Eve, Eve brought evil to the world by eating the apple. So, if anything, they're blaming themselves for all the bad things that happen on earth if they believe themselves to be the descendants of Adam and Eve. What the mythology, can't even call it theology, really. The mythology of it doesn't even make sense. It's not even coherent. Very strange, the psychology of these people. This is what happens with religious zealotry.
is
It always leads to this kind of insanity.
the Third Reich. This is Nazism.
There you go.
He's not even hiding it.
Yep.
But I think that it's hidden inside because a lot of people don't understand. So this belief that whites were so superior that they were different than people is what allowed early Christians in America to own other human beings. That's what chattel slavery was based on. It was based on the belief that African Americans were less than, that they were genetically different. And I believed that they were almost like a totally different species. That
Jesus.
because that lineage had been separated for so many years, that we had evolved differently than them. And part of that was because my lineage
So I just want to point out this is not rooted in science whatsoever. There have been fixed standard indexes or fixation standard indexes, which are basically tests that are done to see the relative admixture and genetic drift that has occurred between two populations. The two populations on Earth that have the most genetic drift of any other population are sub Saharan Africans and people from Papua New Guinea. There have been tests conducted on samples of the genotype from both of these peoples, sub Saharan Africans and Papua New Guineans. And what they found is that out of a fixation standard index, which is it shows you how much genetic drift and how much, gene overlap there is between these two groups, they found a zero point 0.2 disparity out of 0.25, or out of 1 really, but 0.25 is the benchmark that is set to determine whether or not you can classify these two groups of people as a different subgroup, subspecies, whatever. And they didn't even reach that threshold. And what's particularly interesting about this is that if you look at people from sub Saharan Africa and you look at people from Papua New Guinea, you'd actually see they have very similar features. Both are dark skinned, both have curly hair, both have big lips and wide noses, very African, very black features. However, when they compared the genetic samples of people from Papua New Guinea to people from China and Europe, they had less genetic drift between those two populations than with sub Saharan Africans, even though Papua New Guineans look more like sub Saharan Africans, which is to say, one's physical appearance does not tell you everything about how genetically related they are to another person or another population. You would think, if anything, you would assume if you didn't know anything about genes, that Europeans and Chinese people were the least common to Papua New Guineans rather than sub Saharan Africans. But that's actually not the case. Very interesting how that stuff works. And even then, don't be misled. The subspecies category doesn't necessarily mean that they're a different species altogether. It's just you can classify them differently. You can look at them or study them a little bit differently. That's all it is. And they didn't even hit that benchmark. It's interesting how all that stuff works. It's like one moment they want to look at science and warp it to fit a white supremacist narrative, and then they want to ignore science and look at mythology. Very weird the mental gymnastics these people use.
Like I was descended from Adam and Eve, and then the tribes of Israel and
Mm,
the chosen people. I
the
had descended
chosen
from the
people.
chosen
There
people.
you go.
I believed that. I believed that from Adam and Eve to me,
Jesus.
everything had been revealed through God to his chosen people. And the fact that I was born white meant that I was part of this long race of people that God had instructed. And part of that chosenness is that revelation from God. It's God directly teaching people. Like, I believe that God shared his light and knowledge with every inventor. So, the first person that had fire, that was Heavenly Father touching his mind and showing him how to start a fire,
Mm,
literally teaching and instructing him, like Adam received instructions in the Garden of Eden. I believed that, like, algebra and the written language and everything came from God, that all civilization was direct revelation from God. And by default, anything that happened in the African continent, which I just didn't have the knowledge to understand how much advancement there had been on the African continent, they were less advanced because they were cut off from God. So God wasn't in.
there you go. Straight from the horse's mouth. They believe that the African people are not descendants of God. At least in the Christian nationalist white supremacist perspective, they're not. Very interesting. And of course, if you're not of God, you are against God. You are in opposition to God, which means you must be destroyed, dominated, and so on and so forth. This is the same ideology of the colonizers from the 1600s. It's no different. Interesting, man. Very dark, all of this. And I do just want to say if you're black and you got to deal with these folks, you need to look into African history. Very important. They had iron smelting thousands of years before Christ was born in Africa. They had written language. The Yorubas in Nigeria had written languages in Africa. Do not listen to what people like Nick Fuentes say when they say Africa didn't have any advancement. Africa didn't have written language. Do your own research. These people are not interested in telling the truth. Newsflash, it's because they don't care about you. They don't care about understanding your problems. They care about pushing their own agenda, which is white supremacy and Christian nationalism, and engendering a kind of ideology that leads people to antipathy towards non white, non Christians. And once that mindset becomes widespread, becomes the default, the culture, the policy, the society will manifest itself or rearrange itself to push against liberalism towards a more authoritarian form of white supremacy and Christian nationalism. That's Nick Fuentes' end goal, obviously, which is not in my interest or your interest if you're not a white or Christian person.
Inspiring them with his revelation. God wasn't giving them this technological advancement because they were a cursed people. So that's why Africa was still so primitive and they were
They're
like living
cursed.
in huts.
Crazy.
And I grew up with National Geographic, where, whenever you saw photo shoots of African people, they like were half naked and painted faces and pierced noses and things like that. I believed that they had evolved over the years from Adam completely different than us, and
Wow.
that they had lower IQ and they weren't in any way as advanced as us.
That's another one you got to be careful with, the IQ one. Because if you actually look at research, what it shows is the countries in Africa where you have the lowest settler mortality rate, pay close attention to what I'm saying. The countries in Africa that had the lowest settler mortality rate, which is to say where settlers, colonizers died less frequently, ended up being the countries with the most technological, and institutional accomplishment and advancement. And as a byproduct, those countries in Africa have the highest IQs. So Botswana, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Uganda. If you look at their IQ averages at the national level, it is one standard deviation above surrounding countries like the Congo, like the Republic of Africa, or Central African Republic, excuse me. Now, what makes more sense? People from Uganda, Nigeria, Botswana, Ghana, Kenya, just by default, just as a matter of being from Western Africa or Northeastern Africa or whatever, as a byproduct of that, they are just genetically smarter than people from the Congo or people from the Central African Republic by an entire standard deviation? Or does it have something to do with the fact that their institutions, their legal system, their education system, their nutrition, the political stability, the political system, the widespread availability of resources for their populations, control over violence? Do you think that might have something to do actually with the reason why their IQs in those society are significantly higher, one standard deviation higher than the average IQ in the Congo? I think it actually has a lot more to do with the latter explanation than just genetics. It's very strange the way these people lie. And even if we're taking the IQ argument at face value, that raises two questions. One, if IQ measures innate intelligence, why does environment and economics have such a massive impact on innate intelligence? Well, maybe it's because it's not innate. Maybe it's because it's affected by many other things. The brain is a muscle, need I remind you. So it is interesting, the IQ argument. Moreover, you'll notice that in the countries, or rather in the former colonies of the British, the ones I just mentioned, Botswana, Uganda, Kenya, Nigeria, those countries had lower settler mortality rates, and so the British would set up administrative stations in those colonies, and they would let the local African populations run them for the British. They taught them their language, they taught them their legal proceedings, they taught them law, they helped build infrastructure there, they helped educate the population there, and so on and so forth. Whereas in the Congo, the Belgians only used the Congo as an extractive vassal state, which is to say they did not care about developing the Congo because the settler mortality rate was so high because of malaria, disease, lack of water. It's hard to live in the heart of Africa. It's hard to survive in the Congo if you are not from the Congo. So, because the settler mortality rate was so high and the Belgians could not set up any kind of administrative system, the only thing they could do was use the Congo as an extractive state for their own country, for their own gain, for exploitative purposes. The British used their colonies for more than just extraction, but rather as extensions of the British Empire. That's the reason why we see such a wide discrepancy in intelligence between people from Botswana, Uganda, Kenya, Nigeria, and so on and so forth when compared to various other African countries. It's the environment, it's the institutions, it's the political stability. Turns out it's hard to get an education if you can't put food in your mouth, if you're starving, if your village is being raided by another tribe that wants to kill all the men and women there. Yeah, it's hard to have a high IQ in those circumstances when the only thing you're focused on is survival and getting your next meal. Turns out that actually has a way bigger impact over intelligence than just innate genetics, than your race, which is a social construct, by the way.
And then when he gets to the part about Erica being a warrior, again, we're tying into this Aryanism. We're tying into the strength, the enlightenment,
What a
the
freak
blessedness
ideology.
of the white people.
A
Freaks,
woman
man. Freaks,
who
these
raised up
people.
families, raised up city, raised up industry, raised up civilization.
Civilization.
Again, this little bit about civilization in
Anytime a white supremacist drops the word civilization, you got to get your guard up. Anytime they say civilization, what they're implying is a clash. What they're implying is a battle between different people, different lineages, different races. Just understand that,
white supremacy, there is a belief that every good civilized thing that ever happened came from white people.
of course.
Um, to the point
Delusional.
that when archaeologists first started to penetrate the American continent and they discovered some of the ruins of the Olmec,
Literally, by the way, literally the only reason why why Northern and Western Europe even became safer, more organized, less violent regions of the earth, the only reason why that even happened to begin with was because of the printing press. And the printing press came from Florence, it came from Italy. And those people were not even considered white by the metrics that the Americans 100 or 150 years ago would have used. They were brown, copper, olive skinned Mediterranean folks, not white. They're not of Aryan stock, far from it. So we gotta be real and check this shit because it's ridiculous. These people will get so high on their own supply of not even understanding history, basic history, that they'll lie to each other and use that as a pretext to dominate everybody else.
and the Mayans and the Aztecs, they originally speculated that people from Europe must have come over to the Americas
Insane.
because
Insane. They
to
believe they're literally incapable of doing anything for themselves, building civilization, building society, building architecture. It's crazy. The narcissism it's insane.
landed in this whole continent that
Total
was full of nothing
misunderstanding
but
of
brown skinned
history.
people. And that people from Europe must have come over to the Americas because they landed in this whole continent that was full of nothing but brown skinned people. Some of the French and English archaeologists looked around and they were like, yeah, there must have been white people that came to the Americas and taught them how to build these pyramid like structures and all of the advancements, the calendars, the mathematical systems,
How delusional do you have to be? Does the delusion not fascinate you?
medicinal knowledge that they had. They could not even conceive of the fact that the populations of North and South America could have at all done any of this on their own simply because they were brown skinned.
Literally, they think that that's how stupid these people are. It's crazy.
There were books and articles published by some of the early European archaeologists into North and South America where they stated as fact that we've discovered these civilizations that are proof.
So their argument, if I'm restating this correctly, listen to the argument and you can understand how delusional it is. The Aztec, Mayan, and Inca people from South America and Central America, there is no way they could have made advancements in math and science and architecture. And the reason why they believe that is because they were brown skinned. Think about how crazy that is to believe that. There's no way they could have made advancements in any of those fields. And the only possible explanation for it is that white people were there first. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's literally like anti Semitism. It is literally anti Semitism, but white supremacist edition. Because with anti Semites, they believe that if anything bad happens, it was a Jew. If your power goes out, it was a Jew. If you get into a car crash, it was a Jew. If you lose your keys, it was a Jew. That's literally what anti Semites believe. White supremacists are the same. If anything good happens, it was because white people did it. It's crazy. It's insane. This is where all this delusion comes from with these two groups. The Jews and the white supremacists are the same groups. They are both ethno-narcissists. Which is to say, they are both mentally ill. They are both delusional. And we must treat them as such. Don't treat these people like normal people. They're not normal people.
That Europeans must have come to the Americas. And that was foundational to my Mormon beliefs. The Book of
Wow.
Mormon is literally about people from Jerusalem who, by the way, I was taught would have been white, which they wouldn't have been. Kind of a little hiccup in Mormon doctrine.
Pretty
But I
much.
believed that the Mayans,
They would have been copper. Okay.
Aztecs, every civilization that had lived on the face.
They were Middle Eastern Jews, dude. They were Middle Eastern Jews that live by the Mediterranean Sea, near the equator. What would make you think those people would be white? I don't get it.
The Americas was because white people from Jerusalem had come to the Americas.
White people from Jerusalem. Just sit on that. Just sit on that. White people from Jerusalem. It's like everything. They take credit for everything. Every religion, every advancement in history, every success, everything. It's crazy. It's a form of mental illness, literally, or just brainwashing.
All of that knowledge, which they had directly from God. Again, a lot of white supremacy is based on the fact that God speaks directly to his race, his chosen people, those who are descended from
Wow.
Who pulled us out of the caves and the darkness into the light.
That right there was such a slam, pulled us out of the caves and the darkness and into the light. That doesn't sound like white supremacy to probably almost anybody listening to it, right? Like it almost sounds like he's just referencing women, like, oh, the power of Erica Kirk, the power of women. But he's literally slamming brown people. We lived in caves, the people in Africa, people through the Fertile Crescent, Middle East running around in the desert.
Yep.
And then white people.
Yep.
Civilization, Europe, the
Mm-hmm.
Roman Empire, the British.
Which was full of brown people, by the way. The Roman Empire was not. Why do people think the Roman Empire was like a bunch of blonde hair, blue eyed white people running around? That's not what it was. There was I would gamble that the vast majority of people in the Roman Empire were from the Near East, the Middle East, and Northern Africa and Eastern Africa. 100%. That is what the people in the Roman Empire were. And of course, Southern Italy. They didn't look like Benjamin Franklin or George Washington. The fact that we've even gotten to the point where people think that is insane. It's crazy. It's insane. Because the white supremacists, anytime we talk about the Roman Empire and that history, they always make them white. Guys, we got to fight back on the history stuff. It's a real problem. Lord have mercy.
British Empire. That
You cannot let these people control history ever. They lie about literally everything. As she has demonstrated, they lie about everything. About the Aztec, Inca, Mayan empires and their accomplishments, about Cain and Abel, and Cain being cursed with brown skin because he murdered his brother. What? It's like the mental gymnastics to justify their ideology. It's crazy.
caves is racist. This little phrase was racist. I'm going to back this up here.
Erica stands on the shoulders of thousands of years of warriors, of women who raised up families, raised up city, raised up industry.
Like, dude, Stephen Miller, we just wanted to hear you talk about Charlie Kirk. That's it. We did not need this Hitlerite speech about Western civilization. Weird, man. Very strange. Like, of all the times you could do that, why at Charlie Kirk's memorial? It's because of the reach.
Raised up civilization, who pulled us out of the caves and the darkness into the light. The light will defeat the dark. We will.
You guys, that was just white supremacist. The light will defeat the dark. The white will defeat the brown. It's just white supremacist talk. And he's saying it on a stage in front of everybody that's broadcast across the world.
There you go.
And the fact that he has that level of comfort saying this terrifies me.
Veil.
This is the Trump administration, by the way. And, you know, whether you like it or not, Stephen Miller, let's get into Stephen Miller for a little bit, I guess. Stephen Miller has been exposed. There's been leaked reports and evidence of Stephen Miller sharing American Renaissance and VDare material with his colleagues. Now, American Renaissance and VDare are white nationalist, white supremacist, neo-Nazi publications. They have a website. Both of them have websites where they publish authors who can't get their books into Barnes and Nobles because they're white supremacist books. So VDare and American Renaissance will say, hey, if Barnes and Nobles or Amazon won't sell your book, we'll sell your book. And Stephen Miller here, who now works in the federal government, shares material from VDare and American Renaissance that hosts neo-Nazi, white supremacist, white nationalist books and so on and so forth. Very, very peculiar. And the thing about it is, Stephen Miller is ideological. Stephen Miller is a pure white supremacist. He just is. He's a white supremacist, white nationalist, he's a neo-Nazi, and so on and so forth. That is Stephen Miller's ideology. Trump, he's a white supremacist, but he's a white supremacist in a more he's a white supremacist in a more paternalistic way, which is to say, oh, black people are slow, lazy, uncivilized culture or whatever, right? Something a little bit more bigoted, something a little bit more prejudiced, but not ideological white supremacy. Pure ideological white supremacy, refined ideological white supremacy, where you have the civilizational talking points and the culture and the Christian stuff and all this stuff about light versus dark. That's not Trump. You know, Trump is a little bit more tame. But the problem is Trump rolled out the red carpet for people like Stephen Miller to come up and say things like this. And Stephen Miller, unlike Trump, is so ideologically motivated that I actually do think if Stephen Miller was president, Stephen Miller would violate the courts. I actually think Stephen Miller is willing to put his balls on the table in ways that Trump is not willing to put his balls on the table. Stephen Miller will violate the Supreme Court, intimidate the Supreme Court. I firmly believe that. Trump's not willing to do it. Trump is a hollow void, a narcissist, a tyrant. He's obsessed with cameras. If you watched his UN General Assembly speech that he gave 2 nights ago, you would have realized that, where he complained about the interior decoration at the UN General Assembly in New York. And he complained about how people in the UN were not doing enough for him. They weren't giving him his credit or his recognition. And he complained about the Democrats and so on and so forth. And he lambasted Europe for letting in too many immigrants. So Trump is a narcissist and a sociopath, and he's self obsessed, but he's not ideologically hateful and motivated by power and dominance and violence in the same way that Mr. Miller here is. I think Miller would intimidate and potentially ignore the Supreme Court to exercise his own will. Trump, I don't think Trump is willing to do that. Trump is not willing to overthrow the government or harass Supreme Court justices to get them to exercise his will. I don't think Trump's willing to take it to that point. Stephen Miller, though, I think he would. I think Stephen Miller is a hollow shell with no empathy.
Over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened.
Who
What
is
was his
the
position? White House Deputy Chief of Staff. Yeah, that's what I thought. So he is the White House, not the White House Chief of Staff. I think is that Susie Wiles? He's the White House Deputy Chief of Staff.
Veil over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened.
who is they? One guy killed Charlie Kirk. There was no they.
Right,
We didn't kill Charlie Kirk. Black people didn't kill Charlie Kirk. Immigrants from Mexico didn't kill Charlie Kirk.
right.
Feminists like me, atheists like me, we didn't kill Charlie Kirk.
They cannot conceive of the army.
Yeah, it's just an excuse for power, really. That's all it is. That's all it's about. It's just about power. It's an excuse for power. It's a pretext. They know this, obviously. Stephen Miller knows he's lying when he blames the whole left, the left, for killing Charlie Kirk. But of course they don't care about that because the truth doesn't matter to them if it's inconvenient to their narrative, if it's inconvenient to them getting power, obviously.
That they have arisen in all of us.
Hmm.
Because we stand for what is good, what is virtuous, what is noble.
No, you don't.
And to those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us,
That's what you're
what
doing.
do you have?
That's
You
what you're
have
doing.
Nothing. You are nothing.
Yeah, this is weird. This doesn't seem like it's about Charlie Kirk. This doesn't seem like an empathetic, open, heartfelt speech about Charlie Kirk. That's not what this is. This sounds like a Hitler speech. And what's particularly strange about this and chilling is that there was hundreds of people, hundreds of thousands of people here at this event in person. He's giving this speech to hundreds of thousands of people. Like, this guy thinks he's Hitler. He thinks he's Napoleon. Standing in front of 200,000 people in person doing neo-Nazi dog whistles, white supremacist dog whistles. 20 million live viewers online. Because he didn't care about Charlie Kirk. That should tell you something. To care so little about Charlie Kirk and his wife and any of it, that at this memorial, you use your limited speaking time to talk about white supremacy and evil in the left. It's craziness. Truly evil.
What do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing.
You are nothing directed to us, the left, the non-Christian conservatives. We are nothing, apparently. Interesting. And he's doing this at Charlie Kirk's memorial service. It says it right here. Does this sound like a speech you'd give to eulogize someone? Does this sound like a speech you'd give at a memorial service for a person who is supposed to be your friend? Or does this sound like a speech you would give if you were making a run to be the unimpeachable dictator of a republic? That's what this sounds like.
This is the supremacy part of white supremacy. And this American Christian extremism that we're seeing, which foundationally is based on white supremacy,
There you go.
is so terrifying because
Straight from the horse's mouth.
I literally believed that I was better than everybody. I literally was told from birth that I was chosen. I'll link in the description here my article on Substack entitled I Was a White Supremacist that talks about some of the childhood indoctrination that I received, and that changed me. I would be riding around town in the back of our station wagon, and I would see Navajos in my hometown in Flagstaff, Arizona, where I spent part of my childhood. And I would think I'm better than them. Look at them, they're brown skinned, they're Navajos, they're descendants of the Lamanites. Look at me, I'm in my nice little car with my cute little white family. I'm better than them. That supremacy, that they are nothing. Do you guys realize how horrifying this is? That a human being can stand in a stadium full of 100,000 other humans and say they are nothing about other
Yeah,
humans
that's true.
and get
Yeah,
applause.
the dehumanization of it is really worrisome too. And the fact that they got, yeah, as she mentioned, as the fact that he got an applause for that, I'm telling you guys, these people are dangerous. Lord, if you can, and that right there is the prerequisite to violence. In order to do violence against someone, you have to dehumanize them. You can't do violence against someone you believe is a human, is of equal value to you, has a spirit, a soul. You can't do violence to someone when you believe that about them. It's nearly impossible. But if you dehumanize them so much that you believe them to be ontologically evil, as he's basically said here, anything's fair game.
It's not just the words coming out of his mouth that alarm me. It's the millions of people across the country that are supporting this, supporting the belief that another human being is nothing.
Mm,
That was me for most of my life. I believed that the members of my church, the people that I saw on Sunday, those that had, gotten baptized and accepted Jesus and were doing the right things. And I grew up in a church that was racist.
mm,
Black people were not allowed to go to the Mormon temple until
crazy.
I was in like kindergarten. So I didn't have any black people in my life. I didn't have anyone except for white people around me. The fact that this man is so comfortable saying that other human beings are nothing and that other people applaud this should terrify all of you.
You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred.
That
Those
envy
tears.
that envy is really important because again, that's supremacy. That's what stratification, stratus, and power is.
The other thing I'll say about it is white supremacy, it's incoherent, as you can see with the speech. The speech is incoherent. It's about vibes. It's vibes, it's the aura, it's the feelings that it evokes out of people. It is this kind of this this mode of moving through the world that gives you this sense of import, this sense of value, this sense of superiority, even if it's not based in anything empirical, even if it's not based in anything measurable, they still believe it anyways because of this weird mixture of cognitive dissonance, selective history lessons, and selective theological lessons, and then morphing that into this smoothie of white supremacy. It's like it's so random and incoherent. And he's talking about storms and angels, and they are nothing, and they're wicked, and they're evil. It's just blabber. It's just blubber. He's not saying anything. It just sounds good. That's it. It just sounds good. And so people latch onto it. It's crazy.
He is better than us. White people are better than everybody else, and they're elevated. So, envy, people in the caves, those dark people,
Mm.
the wicked people, we are looking up at them and we are
Mm-hmm.
envious. By the
Yep.
way, this was a huge undercurrent of Nazi propaganda.
Right.
In Nazi propaganda, you would often see these blonde white people, a lot of moms and families with beautiful little blonde children, and they would be standing in a wheat field with the Jewish citizens of Germany who were often portrayed as very dark with big noses and these gray complexions, just really looking sickly, looking like they had gone through 3 months of chemotherapy, is what a lot of the Nazi propaganda portrayed Jews as looking like. And you would see them looking up at the Aryan families in the propaganda posters as though they were jealous, as though they were envious. And the propagandists always
We have to fight against this ideology forever. That's what Nick Fuentes represents. This is not a joke. This is me being serious here. We got to fight against this ideology forever until the end of time. Even if it means, well,
showed
yeah,
that elevation. They always showed the Aryan people above the Jewish people.
self
It's despicable.
sacrifice.
It's horrible.
have been turned into fire in our hearts.
Mm,
And that fire burns with a righteous fury that our enemies cannot comprehend.
Righteous fury. He's invoking God. He's sanctifying hatred. Righteous fury has killed billions of people around the world. Do you know how many
right.
people have been killed in the name of God? I'm
Right.
going to invoke God and then I'm going to start a crusade and I'm going to go into the Holy Land and kill everybody who isn't Christian. Uh, Spanish Inquisition. Obviously, not just Christianity. I'm always Christocentric because I'm a former Christian, but righteous fury is always a problem and should terrify everybody.
Those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have
What's up with the lag?
you are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred, you are nothing.
And mind you, what he's saying is that all of those things, hatred, envy, wickedness, jealousy, and so on, are in opposition to God and thus must be destroyed.
You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create
God, look at how many people are there. And look at the imagery here, the red, and
nothing.
look at that with the American flag and the red and all the red here. It's so fascisty.
We are the ones who
Jesus.
build. We are the ones who create. We are the ones who lift up humanity.
Again, this is just basic white supremacy 101. This
Mm-hmm.
was my belief my whole entire life that white people descended from Adam and Eve had built all of civilization, everything that had ever, every medical advancement, every engineering advancement, everything had been built by white people. After I left the Mormon church, I'm 51 years old. It was literally like 4 years ago that I started to learn about like ancient cultures that hadn't been white people that had actually had technology, like
Jesus.
some of the stuff out of Egypt.
You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk? You have made him immortal. You have immortalized Charlie Kirk. And now millions will carry on his legacy.
Just a personal observation. Charlie Kirk was a very mean person. And if they're about to carry on that legacy, that also terrifies me.
And we will devote the rest of our lives to finishing the causes for which Charlie gave his last measure of devotion.
Oh, by the way, people say he engaged in good faith. Charlie Kirk did not engage in good faith, and I'll explain why. If you go to a college campus where you know you will be met with negative reception, you go there with a camera, you go there with microphones, you got security, you got a crew, and you have a list of questions that you're going to ask the audience or whatever. Maybe he did it that way, maybe he didn't. But if you go there and you engage with the students, and the only reason you're there with your camera, with your microphones, and so on and so forth, is to clip those videos, to clip those conversations, to push a certain agenda, to push a conservative Christian agenda, that means you're not going there in good faith because you're not going there with the goal of understanding, of having your mind change. You're going there to debate these people, win the conversation, take the clips, edit it so it makes you look better, and then put it on social media for millions of people to see to change the viewers' minds. What's good faith about that? It's pushing an agenda. It's not neutral. It's not impartial. It's not good faith.
Charlie Kirk was shot while saying
I'm sure he was a kind, polite person, but that doesn't mean he was operating in good faith.
that trans people commit more school shootings than the
Just a
average.
lie, just a
Charlie
blank
Kirk
lie.
hated transsexuals. And that was unfortunately the last sentence that would come out of his mouth.
You cannot defeat us. You cannot slow us. You cannot stop us. You cannot deter us.
We can and we have to and we must.
Right.
We will carry Charlie and Erica in our heart every single day and fight that much harder because of what you did to us. You have no idea. The dragon you have awakened, you have no idea how
Dragon.
determined we will be to
Dragons do nothing but kill and cause violence and mayhem. So why is he invoking angels, Christianity, God, and then considering himself it's so strange. Like I said, it's incoherent. Anything to convey strength. That's it. Anything to convey strength, power, intimidation. It doesn't matter what metaphors or language you're using, even if it's contradictory, even if it's incoherent. It's just about conveying power by any means.
save this civilization.
White power.
Again, just all the references to civilization. This is just white supremacy. And again, the othering, the we, the
Yeah, anytime they talk about civilization or talking about Western civilization, they're talking about white people. This is the same guy who shared V-Dare American Renaissance propaganda to his coworkers, Stephen Miller. So he's talking about white supremacy every single time he says civilization, really anything,
then
and Christianity.
there's somebody else, the inner group and the outer group. There was one gunman with a possible accomplice who killed Charlie Kirk. I didn't kill Charlie Kirk. You didn't kill Charlie Kirk. None of us did. I didn't want him dead. I wanted him at some point to mature and maybe live a better life. This is despicable and diabolical.
To save the West, to save this republic.
There he goes, save the
The
West.
West and the Republic, that's code word for white people. The
Mm.
West is white people. The Republic is white people.
Because our children are strong, and our grandchildren will be strong, and our children's children's children will be strong.
So it's about children. It's about saving the West, saving the Republic, and making the children strong. This is straight out of Hitler's textbook. It is about sublimating the white population to the state to make the state stronger, to save the Republic and save Western civilization. This is just Nazi. This is straight out of the Nazi textbook, playbook, whatever. This is straight from Hitler. This is Nazism 101. That's what this is. This is just fascism in a different form. It's fascism in the 21st century. That's literally all this is. It's fascism in America, Nazism in America. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's here.
That,
But we're ready.
that strength comes from superiority, supremacy. It's just better genetics. It's the pure Aryan
Right.
bloodline.
And what will you leave behind? Nothing. Nothing. To our enemies, you have nothing to give, you have nothing to offer, you have nothing to share, but bitterness. We have beauty, we have light, we have goodness, we have determination, we have vision, we have strength. We built the world that we inhabit now, generation by generation.
Jesus
And we will
Christ.
defend this world. We will defend goodness. We will defend light.
That's ownership, by the way. White people came up with the innovation. White people came up with all of the advancements. Civilization wouldn't exist if it wasn't for this pure lineage.
It's just a lie,
And
obviously.
so we own this. We own
The Far
America.
East,
We
Africa, Latin
own
America, they all had
everything, the technology, the
civilization,
electricity, the computer that I'm recording on right now. And this all belongs to white people.
We will defend virtue. You cannot terrify us. You cannot frighten us.
Virtue, that's a nod to purity. These American Christian extremists and white supremacists believe that everything about them is more pure. They eat pure food, they have pure DNA, they like more pure entertainment, they have the cloak and the mantle of the divine on them. Again, he invoked the angels at the very beginning. So that purity, that pure bloodline is supremacy. The word supremacy means I'm supreme, I'm superior, I'm better than. So he's invoking that once again, that I'm better than.
You cannot threaten us. because we are on the side of goodness. We are on the side of God. And to my
Mm.
friend Charlie, to my brother
That
Charlie,
white Christian supremacy, man, never
I
fails.
know you are looking at us right now. I know you're watching Erica right now. I know you're watching your children right now.
That word brother was important too. It's always a fraternity. We're the brothers in this cause.
And I promise you, my friend, I promise you, my brother, we will prove worthy of your sacrifice.
The word sacrifice there
Mm.
is really loaded.
That's really creepy.
Charlie did not choose.
Sacrifice, yeah, sacrifice for what? The white race, the West, Christian nationalism? Sacrifice is a really disturbing word to use there. He didn't sacrifice himself, nor was he sacrificed. He was assassinated by some freak. That's it. He was assassinated by a mentally ill, terminally online freak. That's it. Who didn't like Charlie Kirk's politics, so he killed him. And he's turning it into this big thing, blowing it all up to go on this crusade against the left, against his enemies, against the enemies of the West, the immigrants, the brown people, the black people. You get the idea. Yeah, very weird the word sacrifice there. It's almost like it's not about reality. It's not about what actually happened, but it's about this grand narrative, a sacrifice for the white race, for Western civilization, for traditional values, for religiosity. That's what he sacrificed for. It's a sacrifice for this big thing. And of course, all those things, as I just mentioned, traditional values, the white race, the West, Christianity, all those things are then going to be used to justify an authoritarian form of government, and using those things as a pretext to everybody who stands against those things, everybody on the left, to take away their power, take away their rights, take away their representation. He sacrificed for this white supremacist state to do those things. It's very weird. He's making it out to be like a thing for the state, for the government, for politics. It's very weird.
For his life to be ended. And I don't think that he would have. I don't think that he would have left his wife and his children behind. I don't think
Right.
that he would have left his work and his family or anything behind. He didn't choose to do that. He was killed at an event that seemed low risk enough that he didn't even have that much security, and there weren't that many police officers present. So it was a low risk day. He didn't sacrifice himself.
We will prove worthy of your time on earth. We will make you proud. We will finish the job. We will defeat the forces of darkness and evil.
Mm.
Again, the forces of darkness. Yeah, some of that is satanic, some of that is biblical. So that would be sinners. That would be people living together without being married. That would be single
Mm-hmm.
moms. That would be people who smoke marijuana. That would certainly be anybody on the LGBTQ spectrum.
Yep.
That would be people who are dark, people who aren't Christians. Atheists are, darkness, evil, sinners, followers of Satan.
Yep.
Buddhists, Muslims, anyone who
Mm-hmm.
isn't Christian would fall into that category. But again, darkness is a theme, and that is a white supremacy theme. And he also means that in a
Yeah,
really
and white supremacy, it's always about a contrast between light and dark. You'll notice they always bring that up. Who's on the light side? The white people, the Christians, the virtuous people, the moral people, the traditional families, and so on and so forth. Those are the good guys. The bad guys is everybody else. That's their worldview. It's not complicated. It's very simple, actually.
this context.
And
And if you're not in it, then you should not be supporting people like Fuentes.
we will stand every day for what is true, what is beautiful, what is good. And we will achieve victory for our children, for our families, for our civilization, and for every patriot who stands
Civilization.
with us. God bless you. God bless Turning Point. God bless Erica. God bless the Kirk family. God bless our heroes. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
What a freak. Look at his and
By
the
the way,
and when he walks away, it's no facial expressions, no charisma, just a dead cold stare. He's got a bald head, he has no hair, just a shell of a human being.
was a very Nazi-like gesture at the end there,
Yep.
and that was a salute. A
And God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
I don't know if that was a Nazi salute, but
By the
maybe.
way, that was a very Nazi-like gesture at the end there,
Could be. Wouldn't be
and that was a
surprised. It's
salute.
Stephen Miller.
Um, Again, if you're on the wrong side, he doesn't care about your children. He doesn't
Right.
care about your grandchildren. They're
Right.
not pure. They don't have strength. They don't
Right.
have the lineage.
Mm-hmm.
They
They're
aren't
not of the.
capable of
Yep.
building civilizations. He does not recognize the contributions of the history of this planet from people who were brown skinned, from people who weren't European. That is white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
This whole entire talk from beginning to end terrifies me. And I will say that he is wrong about so many things, but the one thing that he is the most wrong about is if there is a them and an us, and if they are drawing that line in the sand, which I personally would have never drawn. I've never, as a former MAGA, very recent former MAGA, former white supremacist, I've never drawn a line in the sand ever. I've never said, you can't be friends with me, you can't talk to me, you can't be part of my world, I'm fighting against you, this is a war. But
Yeah.
if
Very weird
this
framing.
man and his supporters are going to draw a line in the sand, then here's what you do: you push. That is the denim revolution. It is time for strategic spending. It is time for boycotts. It is time for you out there who feel like you want to make a change in this world to get your political science degrees, to get your law degrees, and run for office and build a better future for our children.
Right.
It's time for us to speak up and push back against this. This is terrifying. We resist. The biggest thing that we can do to resist this is to rebuild our villages, get to know your neighbors, be friends with everybody, strengthen one another, help each other. If you have single moms in your neighborhood, help them out. Maybe they need a little bit of financial help. Maybe they could use help with the yard work once in a while. Support local businesses. Let's pull the rug out from under the billionaires and the millionaires. For all of
Mm-hmm.
human history, we have thrived on cooperation. Corporations are the antithesis, they are the enemy to human communities. So build back your tribe, be there for each other. One thing we can do right now is just step back and relax. These people are in power and they are strategizing how to turn the whole entire United States of America into a Christian nationalist, white supremacist New Jerusalem. The Handmaid's Tale is not only coming, it is already here. That's it. I will have a follow up video to this later this week on the racism that we are seeing that's hidden in plain sight, but it's not if you know what you're looking for. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll be hanging up the
Wow.
phones. Bye.
Great video. Great breakdown from Mrs. Jenny from Life Take Two. Everybody, please go follow, go subscribe. Let's see what the comments are saying. This was not a memorial, it was a Klan meeting. This woman is the meaning of woke, meaning she woke up from the BS teaching she learned in her past. They don't build anything. They destroy the air, the water. Their God is greed. As a black woman, thank you, sis, for enlightening us with this information. May your soul be blessed. I'm mind blown by this white supremacy coded message in plain sight. It's scary and sad. Black person here. I heard the racism. I heard a call to arms. Sent it to a MAGA non white friend. Friend couldn't hear it. Said it was only about good and evil. We are in trouble. Yeah, that's weird. Said it was only about good and evil. You know, how can you say it was only about, you have to be actually retarded, smooth brain, mentally ill to believe this speech was only about good and evil. How many times did he talk about Athens? How many times did he talk about Rome? How many times did he talk about civilization, the West, traditional values? All of that is about European Christianity and white supremacy and white civilization and the United States and the United States continuing that tradition. That's all this was about. How can you say it was only about good and evil? The amount of either willful ignorance or just sheer stupidity to understand, to interpret it that way is rather astounding. Be that as it may, I will say this just to round out the video. Um, Hold on, I'm going to pull myself back into frame. Um, let's see. All right, let's do this. All right. I will just say this really briefly before I end the video. Um, these people, these white supremacist Christian nationalist types, to them, their belief is that we're in a kind of war, or at least we're in the early stages of a war, which is to say that the United States um, is in a all-out race to the top to see who can arrest power between the liberal egalitarians or the white supremacists and the white nationalists. And fundamentally, their belief is that there can only be one winner. It's a zero-sum game. The white nationalists believe that the United States is either going to get more globalism, more immigration, mass migration, as they put it, more globalism, more mass migration, more brown people. It's going to be less centered around Christian values and so on and so forth. And the only way to reverse that trend is to assert power from the left and make sure they never have power again. That's it. That's the game plan, which means getting rid of our democracy, repealing the Voting Rights Act, amending the Constitution, repealing the Civil Rights Act, taking away people's voting rights, so on and so forth. That's what these people want, because if we're represented, if we get to vote, we won't vote for them. In order for them to achieve their end goal, their objective is to get rid of our democracy, is to abandon liberalism. That's it. On the opposite side, you have us, the non-whites, the brown people, the black people, the Muslims, the Jews, some of the Jews, the non-Christians, the liberals, the atheists, LGBTQ plus people. We are the people who, in this battle, we are fighting for freedom, for equality, for tolerance, for people to be able to live their lives as they choose peacefully, freedom of religion. We're fighting for a safer, more prosperous, more humanitarian world. That is what we believe. They believe in destruction and dominance. And they believe that because they have God on their side, Christ, that it gives them a blank check to wage war against us. Now, mind you, there's a lot of Christians who don't agree with these folks, who don't agree with the Christian nationalist white supremacists, who are actually on our side. And that really exposes the whole game, because you would think that the white Christians would all be on their side, but it turns out they're not. A lot of them are actually not on their side. And it's because they realize what's happening. They understand that the right, that these sycophants are weaponizing Christianity for their own power and their own ability to dominate the rest of us. They see through the smoke and mirrors. They see through the mirage. They see through the hatred. So it is important to understand that we have to fight back against these people. It is existential. And I will finish by saying this. I see the rise of Fuentes, Milo Yiannopoulos, and Richard Spencer, and all these other white nationalist types, and, they're growing in numbers, obviously. Understand, these people are indistinguishable from Nazis. They're indistinguishable from Hitler. Here's how. Nick Fuentes believes, as Hitler did, that the white man, the white race, is being subverted. How is it being subverted? Well, it's being subverted by liberalism, egalitarianism, democracy. It's being subverted by race mixing. It's being subverted by mass migration and immigration. It's being subverted by free markets and free trade. And the people who are orchestrating this plot are the Jews. And the reason why the Jews are doing this is to displace and disempower the white man from their throne as the rightful ruler of not just their nation, but of Western civilization and the world. And the Jews are the ones doing this. This is exactly what Hitler believed. This is exactly what Fuentes believes. And he believes the Jews are doing this to destroy the white race forever, to eliminate the white race effectively, to genocide the white race. He believes that's what the Jews are doing. Hitler believed that about the Jews. Fuentes believes that about the Jews. Fuentes believes we're in a war. Understand that clearly. To Fuentes, it isn't just about politics. It's about ideology. It's about ideology. It's about race. It's about religion. It's about blood. It's about lineage. The United States does not matter to him. He cares about white people. I understand this clearly. If LGBTQ people, black people, brown people, Asian people, atheists, if we die, if we lose influence or representation in society, if our population numbers start to decline, he would see that as a positive development. Understand that clearly. He hates you. All the black and brown Nick Fuentes fans and the Asian Nick Fuentes fans, this is a wake up call. So wake up. Okay? They think it's a war. They say we're the enemy. That's fine. We'll be the enemy. But we just got to fight back, or else we risk losing everything. So, anyways, that's my take on that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys found it useful. I'm going to be back. I'm going to try to do some live streams pretty soon here, get that whole situation set up. We'll see how that goes. But that's all I got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you like it. If you did, like, subscribe, leave a comment. And until further ado, I'm out. Take care.